Collaborative learning as detailed by Paloff and Pratt. Collaborative learning basically operates on a concept of shared goals. All students inherently want to succeed, and their instructor wants their students to succeed. So by playing these two off of each other, we can start to create some collaborative learning activities inside the classroom. So how can this responsibility be shared between teacher and student for student success? Well, there's a number of ways this can happen. Number one is by allowing the students to have some say or some role in an assessment in how they would like to work in the class, also in how they would like to show their success in the class. Another way is by using collaborative learning, by allowing students to work in groups and to work with one another inside the class. And in a previous video, we kind of alluded to the fact that collaborative learning actually works very, very well in an online course, and that solo interactions inside an online course aren't really the most effective. So some guidelines for collaboration. These guidelines should be mutually agreed upon between group members. So participation requirements inside the online class, what each person should be doing in the online class, so on and so forth. And explain to your students why you're using collaborative learning, because some students won't understand. Some students don't like collaborative learning because they've had bad experience with the collaborative learning in the past. Sometimes they may be the student who ends up doing all the work in the group and everyone else kind of rides on their coattails and gets credit for it. So some students are already turned off as soon as you say collaborative learning. And an important way to make sure that this doesn't happen is by holding all students accountable for collaborative learning outcomes. Rubrics are very effective for this because they detail what the students need to do and how well they need to do it in order to achieve the goals and to achieve the maximum number of points that they need for that assignment. So getting started with collaborative learning. Collaborative learning really begins with the introductions. This is the very first time that you and your students are going to collaborate together on anything in the class. So it's an excellent opportunity for you to model what you would expect from the students in a collaborative role. And it's also a great way to get your students started to talk to each other. And ask students to post responses to their classmates in the introduction. You know, even if they just go out and read 2 or 3 people and post a reply to them saying, "Hi, how are you? You know, I didn't know this about you. I'm glad that we are going to be in class together," things like that. And be sure for you to respond as well, because not only will it show the students that you're watching and listening, but it'll also model what you want the students to do. So teams in collaborative learning. Team identification is important, allowing the students to choose a team name or allowing the students to choose a group ID, something like that. Communications issues, making sure that there are channels available for the students to communicate with. So usually in most LMS systems, whenever you form groups, there is a group discussion board, a group email, group wiki, blog, things like that. But also make sure that the students have each other's email addresses so that they can keep in touch with each other through there if they need to. And responses inside the team. It's sometimes a good idea to monitor the teams to make sure that they are working together and that they are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also to monitor how they are interacting and responding to each other. And every team needs roles, so you can appoint a leader to a team or you can have the leader choose a team. It's also a good idea to assign a secretary to each team to kind of give you a little bit of a rundown on what the team has been doing, how well they've been working together, even just to keep notes so that the team knows what they've done in any team meetings or online collaborative situations. And what do you do for non-participation? This is really kind of a more subjective part of this. So what I recommend is that you use some kind of rubric for your students so that they know that they're being evaluated on their group work, but also give the students an opportunity to evaluate the group as well. It's always a good idea to get their input because they are the people who have been working directly with all of their teammates, and that's the best way to find out who is participating and who is not. And any unique topics that might come up in groups, such as group dynamics or how well groups work together, or if there are any kind of personal or any type of issues like that in between group members, it's a good idea to monitor that and make sure and to intervene when necessary. Developing assignments. Use real life examples and scenarios. So if we're going to assign group work, we might as well assign the students something that could actually happen in real life. So look for those authentic assessments that you can use inside your classroom. Assignments should be problem based, otherwise they become redundant, and the students sometimes really don't see the purpose of doing that group-based assignment. And the group should work together to solve problems. So jigsaws work very well in that you give each group a piece of the problem and then come together for an overall solution of that problem. And again, group roles in the project. So we have our individual roles within the groups, but then we can also assign, if we're working in a large, if we're breaking the class up into groups to solve a larger issue, then we can assign roles to each group as well. So you can have you can have one group working on each section of the problem and then coming together to present an overall solution to the problem. And then presentation of results. This can be done in a number of different ways. You can have a live collaborative session with them in Elluminate or Wimba Classroom, anything like that, or you could have it be done asynchronously, where the students would prepare some sort of document or a video or something detailing the results of what they found. Group feedback. It's important to hold each group member accountable, just so that the group members know that they are being evaluated on the work that they do. It also helps to motivate the groups to make sure that they are getting their work done. And allow the group members to evaluate each other, because this will really tell you who participated in the group and who did not participate in the group. And do not penalize the group for the failure of one. This is an issue that some people agree with, some people don't. You'll find a very mixed bag on this. So I think this is something you're going to have to kind of come up with an answer with on your own, whether or not you penalize the group for failure of one. In some respects, people would say, well, if the project's not complete, it doesn't matter if it was just one person's fault. The group failed because the project wasn't complete. On the other hand, if you get one person who the group was relying on to do a piece, and for whatever reason, that person does not come through, some people would argue, is it really fair to penalize the rest of the group for the failure of one? And that's really something that you're going to have to hash out with your class and maybe get some group consensus on. And feedback should provide direction for improvement. So making sure that when you do give feedback to your groups, that you let them know that you have specific ways in which they can improve for next time and detail those for them. So if you have any questions about this, be sure to post them in the threaded discussion, and also be sure to answer the threaded discussion question below.